Hello, everyone. Welcome to another edition of Analysts Gone Wild. And today we don't have Robert, so I'll be hosting the show. So we are going to jump right in. We are going to start with quick intros of everybody. Sam Gupta, Elevate IQ, and WBS Talks. Host of that, Elevate IQ is the independent vendor agnostic technology advisory firm. On that note, Michael, do you want to go next?
Sure. Michael Fawcett. I'm the founder, CEO of Arian Research, host of the Disambiguation podcast, and all-around nice guy.
You are definitely a nice guy. Charles, do you want to do that?
Also made tough to follow up on that. Charles Brennan, Nucleus Research. It's glad to be on the show again. Those who aren't familiar with Nucleus, we're a global provider of technology research and advisory services that focuses on return on investment. And that's mainly done through end user conversations, through everyone that's watching right now that utilizes software in any capacity. But I manage our ERP, supply chain, manufacturing practice here. And once again, happy to be here and provide some insights.
Okay, amazing. And you guys do an amazing job. So definitely check out Nucleus. Thank you so much, Charles, for being here. Shashi.
Yeah, hi everybody. Glad to be on the show after a gap of some time. My name is Shashi Belamkonda. I'm Principal Research Director at Infotech. Infotech is a global firm. Our main customers are CIOs and CTOs. My coverage is a little bit broad. I'm the guy who translates geek to English. So instead of broad, deep knowledge of how implementation is done, I'm more talking to CEOs and sometimes tech leaders on why they should pay attention to some software or the other. Thank you, Sam, for inviting me to this again.
Yeah, Sashi, Happy New Year once again, because you are appearing here for the first time. This year, obviously, you have appeared last year. So thank you so much for being here.
Thank you.
All right, so let's start with these stories. We'll jump right in. So I guess the first one, and this is very strategized today, Charles, for your knowledge. We have a lot of ERP stories, how the sequencing.
No, it's
good. So here we are talking about NetSuite. Shashi is probably not going to like it. I mean, too many ERP stories. Shashi, we have one maybe CRM story and marketing automation as well. But bear with us for maybe 3-4 stories. So here, NetSuite, and they are launching integration platform.
Sure.
And I definitely want to hear your take on this one, Charles. Obviously, Michael, you have spent a lot of time in the ERP ecosystems as well. So here, now, in this day and age, I guess, I don't know why you would launch an integration platform, because that category itself is slightly questionable overall from the AI native perspective, right? But then Celigo, I don't know if you guys are familiar with them. Celigo has invested their life savings into NetSuite. So I don't know what is going to happen to them. I don't know if this is going to be just an option. But overall, if you look at the market alignment from the ERP perspective, I don't know an ERP vendor that does not own some sort of integration platform. You definitely want to have that, or from NetSuite's perspective, NetSuite wanted to create the whole ecosystem, but then they also had the FP&A product, which was not integrated through the integration platform. So now I don't know if they are going to integrate a lot more and own those integrations. If you compare this with, for example, Sage, Sage has owned a lot of those integration. Acumatica owns. Those are going to be the closest competitors for NetSuite. So that's from my side. I'll open up the floor now. What do you guys think?
I can just share a little bit of my experience. I think before Oracle bought NetSuite, the biggest problem we had was taking NetSuite data out and combining it with others. And this I'm talking about at least 10 years ago. Now, my theory and on this is that every software company is not sticking to their turf. They're actually moving out. If NetSuite doesn't introduce integration, an integration platform is going to do what NetSuite is going to do. So a little too late, but very necessary in my opinion.
Yeah, and to piggyback off that, right? I come from previous life working very heavily with Oracle NetSuite, and I would find some value in this. As you mentioned, this is starting to become table stakes where these organizations are owning the integration. But I think the ability to I used to run warehouse reports where I get information from ShipStation, then from Shopify, all of this stuff. If I'm able to, leverage these low-code tools to build these integrations or leverage these pre-built AI integrations. I think there's quite some value for these small to mid-sized businesses that are leveraging other applications outside NetSuite to do specialized things like supply chain, procurement, whatever that may be. So I think this does provide some sort of value. There was some talk in this article about MCP server security here. So I think this was an interesting move, but at the end of the day, I think this is just a nice wrapper of Oracle's iPaaS solution, and now it's NetSuite integration platform at the end of the day.
Yeah, there's an AI story here. It won't surprise you, Sam, for me to say this. That I do think is interesting, and that's the fact that they are providing some automation tools at the data level that are going to make some add some value, and that's one of the areas where you're seeing a lot of automation come into play from the enterprise vendors around the data and data integration, data mapping, documentation, summarization, and even adding in RAG powered data enrichment. So that part I think is interesting because it takes some capabilities from OCI and extends it into the NetSuite ecosystem. And then like you, Sam, I wonder about the partner piece too, because this definitely plays directly in the face of at least one partner, but I think there's actually a couple more that it touches as well. So I'm not sure what they're doing there.
Yeah, could not agree more, guys. Great points overall. I want to touch on two different layers, and I want to ask you guys, what do you guys think on those two layers? So number one is this whole Versari exit to Avalara, and I don't know if you guys followed them or not. Avalara, they are more in the sales tax space. Charles, I'm not sure if you're ranking them. I don't know if you have a quadrant for them.
I'm familiar with the company, but we do not have a specific ranking for that report of Value Matrix. But I'm familiar with the company. They were at Sweet World last year.
Yeah. I mean, they are pretty big for an ISV. The whole sales tax space is fairly well penetrated. I think that could be a category you might want to track. I mean, it's a pretty good category, and they have money to spend, I guess, on marketing, right? So just to give you overall context from the market alignment perspective, Avalara is pretty big overall from the company perspective. Their market category would be more sales tax. Now, Versari, when they started, my take on this was that, okay, what's going to happen to the whole iPaaS market? Because you have Boomies of the world.
Did you mean to change the slide?
No. I'm still talking about this one. This is the second bullet. Sorry, Sashi. Yeah. So this one, two layers when I'm talking about this one. So Versari is the iPaaS. AI native iPaaS is the category that they were trying to create. Now they got consumed by Avalara. So my a little bit problem, I guess, with this is, are we going to have a real AI native iPaaS category? Because we don't have any other players except Versari. And now that is also consumed by an ISV. I would see Avalara as ISV. Now, I made a post on LinkedIn and I said, and by the way, I mean, there was an alignment with Cispro as well. Cispro invested substantially on Versari to build their marketplace ecosystem. I don't know whether you guys saw that story or not. So there is going to be a little problem there as well, because if you invest in this, then now you are slightly in conflict with Avalara. So I posted on LinkedIn, and the founder responded back that you have no idea what you're talking about. Because
yeah, that's how that means you said something sensible.
So what's your take on this? I mean, overall, with this acquisition, alignment, AI native iPaaS, to you guys?
So I think I mentioned it when I spoke, like you take Boomi, right? Boomi doesn't want to be considered an iPaaS company because now they're a data company and then they're doing a lot more there. Like I think, like I said, NetSuite is filling a gap that existed for a very long time. Now, companies that wanted their data to remain within their thing and they thought this is very sticky, people will not leave us if we don't allow them to use the data that we have, I think is very old-fashioned way of thinking. Now, when they talk about MCP, I think anything that you do, even a customer coming back and is authorized to look at it, instead of giving them dashboards and making them click so many times to get a report, this is going to improve their things. But you ask a very good question. Would iPaaS as a category exist? I don't think so. It would. Every one of these companies is going to morph into something more.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, you got all the automation we were talking about, and I think over time you get to the point where agents simply connect to the tools they need using MCP or another protocol and transform data, handle errors, all those things. And do you really need iPaaS at that point?
Yeah. Charles?
I mean, the way I see it, I think it's really about combining both of them. I would see, like, you're leveraging these MCP servers alongside iPaaS, but I have a colleague, Alex, I believe he's appeared on the show a few times, that is a lot more versed in the space, and I'm sure he'd advocate for iPaaS still being around, but I'll have to refer to him on that. I don't have a good answer for that.
Okay, great points, guys. So we have some guests here, so I'll cover those comments first. Hello, Ron. He's an amazing analyst, guys. So follow him.
One of the top analysts in the world, Ron. Hello.
He's the best. And we have Shashi as well. And I don't know if I'm familiar with him, but thank you so much for joining. Okay, so Shashi wants me to move on, I guess, to the next slide. And you need to be on a show with Robert because he does not move at all.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, so I'll not cover the second point, but here, this is the next story with Oracle. So we have a lot of stories with Oracle NetSuite today. And here, Oracle, and this is a very interesting story as well, because it seems that they are introducing process manufacturing in general. If you look at Oracle's market share, they were very well penetrated into process manufacturing space from their JD Edwards days. So my understanding on this is going to be that they are probably going to have very deep capabilities from that. But seems like they have included a lot of these capabilities. I don't know if they were there, Charles. I don't know if you have seen any sort of demos where you saw these capabilities. So definitely interested in hearing what you guys think of these capabilities from Oracle.
Well, I think first and foremost, right, customers are wanting more industry specific solutions, whether you're a process manufacturer, discrete manufacturer. So I think Oracle is just making that investment deeper into their supply chain management capabilities for this process manufacturers, right? I think there was things around yield modeling, electronic batch record approval. I think this is really, really valuable because these companies are really looking for traceability, control change propagation, accuracy under variability. So I think these rollouts of these AI assisted tools really are structured around those realities for customers. But my issue for Oracle is that they do such a great job at product development. And I'm sure we'll get into this with the next topic as well, because I believe that's around other AI applications for the SCM Fusion tool. But are customers up to date, and are they willing to take advantage of these tools? Manufacturers that do have quite the appetite for these AI agentic tools, but are they taking advantage of them today? I noticed quite a gap between those that have an appetite for it, between those that actually deploy it. So that's my biggest thing here, is that they do have a lot of capabilities here. They're continuing to advance them, but are customers actually taking advantage of it? Because there's so much going on in the Oracle ecosystem that it's really difficult to keep up with. So are they even sure with these? I'm always thinking about customers utilizing this, because this sounds great from a press release. These are good tools that these in theory organizations would want to take advantage of, but are they made aware of it? Because it seems like it's press release after press release of new applications, agents, new capabilities, that it becomes overwhelming.
Yeah, no, great point, Charles. Anybody else has any other comments on this?
I just mentioned the process manufacturing piece because that's an area that's always been sort of an underserved category from the manufacturing ERP world, right? So, and Oracle's had a presence. I mean, the JDE acquisition took them in that way. And so it just seems like they're continuing to push in an area where they do have some advantage and probably have seen some growth in market share.
And sometimes I'm just amazed how much Michael can speak about ERP, to be completely honest.
Well, you forget that I manage the whole enterprise application world at IDC for 10 years. So I have actually run across an ERP.
Not many people understand that. So thank you so much, Michael. Shashi, sorry, you had a comment.
Yeah, I mean, again, this is back to what I'm seeing. Like, there's a lot of pressure on CIOs and CTOs to reduce tech debt, right? Now they're all on Oracle Cloud, and then there are so many other companies that come in and say, like, "Hey, our software will manage your manufacturing process," and there are others who will say, "We'll move the data." Others who will say, like, "Hey, we'll help you get the data using our tools, using AI." So again, if Oracle doesn't do this,
Yeah.
they're going to lose, because it's easier for new players to say, like, "Hey, why are you using Oracle Cloud? We'll give you a bridge to something else that is probably a little cheaper," right? So
Yeah.
all the incumbents today have to think about who's going to displace us. And
Yeah.
the war game is that we have to displace others. Like, I think Christopher has a very good comment where it says, like, there's more demand for data that ships well. And that ships well if it is within the same ecosystem. So the same guardrails are there and the same governance is there, right? Instead of moving between, and that's another headcount that you need to add for somebody to manage, like, how data flows from one place to another. Oracle salespeople can come and say, like, "Hey, you know what, just add this to your system." If I tend to think most manufacturers have some kind of a process software, but I bet it's very old. Those niche players are using their incumbent status instead of developing it. So it's either a new player is going to come in, or the cloud players are going to move into their territory.
I think you mentioned a great point about the ecosystem there, and that's really the whole value of partnering up with Oracle, right? You have the OCI, you have the database, you have all the Fusion applications that you need. So why not just add on these tools? And I think it's something that it's interesting. They do talk about pricing being, these tools aren't an extra cost. You can just, turn them on, but it doesn't really get into obviously, potential usage costs.
We'll just increase it next year.
Yeah. So
renewal time.
But I think at the end of the day, it does help, for those process manufacturers that are looking for these capabilities. And why would I go to a third party, an outside vendor, that could help out, but then I got to deal with the integrations and whatnot. So let's just partner with Oracle and go there. But I think, it goes back to educating your customers on these capabilities, because clearly Oracle has invested, millions and millions, if not billions of dollars, obviously into, but I'm talking about their Fusion applications. So I think good stuff from them, but let's see how customers take advantage of it.
Yeah, so some great points there, guys. And I know, Shashi, you want me to move on from this story because this is the ERP story, and you're like, bring me those CRM stories. Where are those?
Those are hidden at the back.
I get it. I get it. But you know what? I have some follow-ups here. So a couple of things that you guys have mentioned on this story overall about the ecosystem, Oracle, NetSuite, Microsoft. The reason why these guys are really powerful is because of their ecosystem.
Yep.
If they are going to put all of that capability inside their own software, then obviously they will lose on some power. The other points that you have mentioned, I guess Michael and Charles, both of you, overall about the fragmentation in the process manufacturing space. The fragmentation exists because every micro vertical, and you don't want to go deeper into process manufacturing. It's wild west there, Shashi. Okay, if you are already feeling that, okay, what are we talking about here? Why do we need to go so deep? Inside that, you could have dairy, you could have cheese, and cheese could be very different from meat manufacturing. So it's that bad. Okay, and each of those could have unique products, unique items, and the way their processes are. And that's why you have so much fragmentation in the market, because in 90% of the cases, customers would not be able to use what Oracle is providing out of the box, because they will not be able to relate with it. Sometimes they are going to have other constraints, political constraints, and because of that, they will not be able to use. So this is a very common problem. So Charles, to your point, how much customers are going to use? Sometimes that is adoption, and sometimes that is political.
And I think you do a great job breaking, down, I think to your point, those manufacturing industries, and you have, rankings based on, food and beverage manufacturers, plastics manufacturers. And I really do appreciate your insights there, because you're totally right. Every single subsection of these industries is quite complex. That's why, Delmia works well with plastics manufacturing. Obviously that's more discrete manufacturing, but it's to your point that, these capabilities are extremely niche and it varies.
Also, don't forget the manufacturers of the equipment themselves have their own software, right? Which is also not
Yep.
as forward as it should be.
Yeah, and Ron is really enjoying this. I guess CRM.
How
What
many of
CRM
the
stories?
stories?
Sounds like he also wants CRM. All right, guys, I'll move to the next story. Okay, hopefully we can do some CRM stories
While
today.
you're doing that,
More Oracle. Yes.
More
my
Oracle supply
theory
chain.
is categories are going to disappear.
Yes.
So
agreed.
Interesting. Okay.
Which categories, Shashi? Maybe clarify that. Like software categories?
yes, I mean now we talk about
Ah,
CRM, ERP,
that's a
and
big,
everything
bold
else. I
statement.
think,
Is Charles going to have a job then?
Yeah, crap. I don't know. I might need to go work for the ERP.
our
and-
expertise is still needed. It's just the way we label it is going to change.
We have a testing role open, Charles, if you want.
Okay. All right. Sounds good. Then send me the link after this.
Okay, all right. So let's do this. So, second Oracle story, and I can promise that this show is not sponsored by Oracle, even though we have two Oracle story here. Okay, so the second one. So here, AI agents for supply chain leaders. AI agents, Michael, you are going to love this, right? At least some AI. Okay. What are we doing with AI agents?
AI Agent Studio. Yay.
Yeah. Planning cycle agent, component replacement agent, inventory tasking agent. Obviously, too many agents everywhere. Agents. The question is, it's interesting. Obviously, everybody has to develop these capabilities because you have to compete with the AI native players. So far, we have not seen any specific agents in any environment so far. New customers are excited about it, but when you start mapping these capabilities, I don't know how they are going to work. So overall, great to catch up with other competitors in market, but I'm not sure how I feel about it. Open to you guys.
So let me talk about the approach for a second, because that actually I think is more important in a kind of overall look at how Oracle and some of the enterprise legacy existing player, whatever we want to call them, players are, as in opposed to like OpenAI Frontier or some of the other platforms. The newer platforms right now are much more horizontal. And the truth is, if you think about how agents are going to operate, they're going to be broken down into smaller segments of process, which means that having them exist inside of what we now consider the application, I would argue that I don't think that's going to be defined the same way shortly, because the architecture is going to shift. But in general, having the agent associated with the pieces of the process that are defined by the applications today, that actually makes a lot of sense, because I want it to have tie to the business logic, to the data, to the workflow, all those things that are existing inside of it. And now would be an application. But once the agent's there, that all that still has to happen, right? Whether the human's doing the interaction with the system or the agent's doing the interaction between the human and the system, it all still has to be. So to me, their answer is that against the more horizontal approach that you're seeing from OpenAI, Anthropic, others that are playing in that other agentic platform approach.
Great point, Charles.
Yeah,
Or
I
Shashi.
think I mean, it's ultimately a bridge from the last conversation that we had about Oracle. It's continuing to invest in these capabilities. I think Michael just did a great job there, tying what they're doing to the business logic that they have. So these agents are working, in context with the business and the organization as is, rather than some tool that you bring in, then you have to train and whatnot, and hope that it works. So I mean, at the end of the day, this is Oracle continuing to invest in these capabilities once again, natively integrated at no additional cost. That was
Charles, did we lose you, or
so
is it just
this
me?
is
Okay.
good how well they're utilizing these capabilities. I know there's some things around procurement, inventory, logistics, order management, broad types of capabilities here, but if it keeps working for Oracle, then let's see it. But customers need to take advantage of this and see what sort of value they get. But it goes back to the ecosystem, and then they have that's their value, and they're continuing to invest there. So
My take is a little different, and I see like right now the whole space is very smoky. A lot of terms are being thrown across, and I see the battle of agents, and some of them will get killed by friendly fire because there are three dimensions. One is the companies themselves will have agents that they're going to give employees that connect to the data that they already have. Other layers on top of data will also have agents that will interact with some of these things, albeit externally, right? So I think you're much better off if you wait for some time and see and offer this to companies that don't have the ability to manage their own agents or create their own agents, or use a third-party provider for agents, right? Like I think in the recent GTC with NVIDIA, Jensen Huang said this. There are three things that you should say, like agents will work autonomously, agents will take actions, and agents will interact with the external world. He said they should only do two of these three, and the only person who's allowed to do all three is the CEO. So similarly, right now, think about an Oracle agent giving you one answer and your internal employee created agent giving you another answer. The possibility is always there because they may not have the same access, right? So it's a tough job for anybody to figure it out. I can't say I figured it out, but I've been part of conversations where do we create our own agents? Do we use another party provider, or do we use it within our existing system? I think the confusion, the smoke will take some time to clear.
But I mean, I also think that we got to shift some conversation around the governance can't be done the way it has been done, which means you can't do governance after the fact. You've got to design governance into the system, which becomes a part of the platform layer. And if you do that, then you've built what I call an agent service bus, the idea that you have something that handles several different types of activities, including conflict resolution, which you're correct, Sashi, that's going to be a big deal. You're going to have two agents that are going to get in an argument. Who settles that? How do you settle that? How do they even identify themselves? Because that's another piece, identity management and the integration, MCP, agent to agent, and also tying into the collaboration layer with the humans. All those things are still being sorted out. And right now, companies are approaching this sort of function by function. I've got some agents inside of this boundary. I've got some agents inside of this boundary. And that's fine when they sit there. But once they start to interact across those boundaries, we've got to solve some of those other issues. So It's going to come to head this year. I don't think there's any question about that.
Yeah, so what you guys are talking about is a real world ERP implementation, and you never settle those conversations. You can never do that. That's not possible.
Well, with an extra complexity layer of you've got some machines running around doing things too.
I know. Okay, so we have some very interesting comments here, and he's talking about labeling as a service ready to take off. I don't know if that is a category or that is a jab on some of the research competitors because they are launching a lot of things. What is that? Service as a software, and that spins my head, I guess.
Service
as software. I love it.
That's great.
Okay, I don't know if you guys are passionate about that. Do you guys talk about that as well? Service as a software?
No, me? No. My company does not talk about it like that.
Okay,
no.
so you guys are not into that.
No.
I mean,
I will say I've been in the conversation. I'm not sure how I feel about it yet.
Yeah, no.
Yeah, I mean, you'll see a lot of terms thrown around as if we don't have enough acronyms.
Yeah,
no, we
exactly.
need more. We need
more. Yeah. Okay, so we have some more acronyms here. So Richard, thank you so much for joining. Richard is talking about, will we see a shift when it comes to licensing from SaaS to results as a service, right?
I love it.
I do have an opinion about this one. This won't surprise you, but I think what you're going to see is the value question is interesting, and I don't think we've never been able to solve results or value pricing, but we have figured out how to solve metering, which means that I think you're going to see a lot of shift away from seats into metered sorts of, charges, because that's the way that a lot of this is going to have to function. And the seat conversation over time, that gets really hard when you've got 10 agents doing work with one human. Which seat do you sell? Is it 11 or is it 1? It doesn't work the same way. So you've got to figure out a way to meter some of that and charge based on consumption, I think.
When you go to a CFO convention, please wear a disguise, Michael.
Oh, I will definitely wear a disguise. But I mean, Sashi, it's got to be a better conversation than saying, you know what, we want you to pay us for the value we create with our software. Yeah. Okay.
Well, it's definitely a very broad statement there. You know, the value. I mean, that is going to range from company to company, and I think that's, you know, either doing what you said, you know, the meter-based pricing, or, you know, understanding the individualistic, you know, performance, you know, benefits that you might get from these. I think those turn into way more consulting conversations, working with the customer one-on-one to really understand, you know, what they're going after with said agents, and then measure it from there. But it's no one knows what's going to be going forward, but I think seat-based pricing.
Seats, right? I mean, and value-based, it's fine. It results in certain situations. Results is something you could charge for, right? And there are some vendors right now that are doing that, right? Talkdesk, and you know, in the call center space, or in the customer service space, if I have a resolved case, can I charge it for that versus charging for the seat? Sure, I could. So there are ways to do that. But when you start to talk about value, nobody's going to agree on the metric. Nobody's going to agree on how you measure it. And then 100%. Who's going to tell the truth in that conversation? And
there's definitely not going to be universal.
It's not going to happen.
Again, I have to quote Jensen Wang again, which I actually like what he said.
Did you go to
I
GTP?
like that.
Yeah, but I mean, obviously, I'll tell you one thing is, he's one of the most technical CEOs who could talk to people in very simple language. I mean, the passion he shows with the chips. I've become a fan of chips. I mean, we used to
you mean like Lay's potato chips?
Yeah, but here's what he said: like, don't think of, and to your point, Michael, don't think of tokens as an expense. Think of what impact they'll give to your business, right? So when you talk to, and I actually wrote a blog post on this. You can find a link on LinkedIn, but this is exactly the conversation that's taking place today. Is the CIO has to defend the use of tokens to the CFO without, like you said, without agreeing on, hey, but by the way, we could do a job that's worth 10,000 by using X amount of tokens that was our expense, right?
Yeah.
And I think this was actually, my blog post was also based on a Wall Street Journal story exactly on this topic. Like, how do companies think about it? So the companies that have started telling employees, hey, we're going to increase your token allotment. And Jensen says that no engineer is going to join your company unless you say, like, you have X amount of tokens and here's your salary.
Well, and to that point, I saw him on a podcast during GTC talking about if you're paying a $500,000 a year software engineer and he's not using $250,000 in tokens, there's something alarmingly wrong there. So that is a great point, and how that's it's a different shift in conversation, right? For onboarding, for really everything, the conversations you have at your software companies as well. So it's definitely a different shift. But I think, to Michael's point too, I think the seat-based approach is dead. So companies have to approach it differently.
You heard it first here.
Yes, you did. Well, actually, probably not. Probably been said before, but I mean, you have to charge. You have to charge for things you can measure, and you have to charge for things that you can measure, and both sides will agree to. So take that and figure out the thing to charge for.
There's one use case, Michael. You may have heard of this. Is a company called Sierra. Mm-hmm. So they only charge based on the number of calls that they complete. That's the metric. So they don't have any other charge. So that's the results-based system.
Yeah. And again, that's, you can, if you both agree on the measure and you can measure it, that works for me. That's fine.
Yeah, now sounds like Shashi is not as worried about moving slides.
He liked this conversation.
As you can see, I have grown up since I came on the show.
Okay, so here, I am going to teach one trick, I guess, for everybody. This is going to be extremely meaningful. If you are ever looking for any acronyms, if you are running out of those, the only thing you need to do is you simply need to flip the script. So here you are talking about results as a service. You can talk about service as a result. How's that?
Service as a result. I like it. There you go, Sam. That's good. That's
good.
Okay,
are you building that into Gupta ERP? Is that
Gupta
like
ERP? Yes, it's going to have auto flipper. Okay, so you are going to feed it one acronym and you are going to get 100 out of it. Okay, Christopher has a comment here.
Great point.
Even worse than two agents arguing, two departments surveying data using different definitions for the same term. So he's talking about taxonomy. Agent picks one and delivers the answer that is right for that definition, but wrong everywhere else without a foundation definition, a shared canon. This is a guaranteed failure mode. What do you guys think?
No, that's absolutely true. And I would say this is a good argument for some sort of a semantic layer or interceptor that will prevent those inaccuracies or cross definitional issues. That is, conflicts are created by that, but also you can create some interesting customer service problems by that if you don't solve that. So that's a part of the governance that has to be built in. Yeah, absolutely.
I think in general,
you can prove this today by trying. Sorry. Go ahead.
No. What I was saying, just in general, outside of even AI agents, we're talking about foundation, architecture, like you mentioned, governance. That's important for every investment you make and anything you really do in life. So, I mean, to that point, that is very much spot on. But no, please continue.
Okay. Yeah, I was just saying, you can try it right now. Go to two different LLMs, and even if you ask the same question, the answer might be different. But if you move words slightly, obviously it's going to be different. Right, especially with Grok.
Well, yeah, but that's a that's a roll of the dice on that one.
Perfect, guys. So I had to remove that comment because it was covering our faces. So now we have a
we don't want that for sure.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Okay. So Richard, yeah. Will start to reduce, but consumption will increase.
Yes.
You guys agree with that, right? So, okay,
Yes,
one more comment.
Great.
Let's do this quickly. So, I have personally moved away from seat-based licensing towards complexity-based pricing. I have found that this is close to RAS. Easier to nail. Okay, I think we'll cover more comments later. Let's go to some more stories. Otherwise, we are going to be doing just two of them. And Robert is going to say, you are always talking about doing more stories on my show. But when you are doing, you are not able to do it yourself. Okay, so one more story, QAD. And this is they are doing an
ERP story, Sam.
Yeah, I know. ERP stories are amazing, and QAD is even more amazing, right? Because they are doing some very exciting stuff, and they have signed this partnership. They are going after a lot of larger system integrators. What that implies is they are going to get really big deals. Okay, so that's what is happening here, and sounds like there is some other synergy. Obviously, they are utilizing them as their engineering expert as well. They had that alliance with some other similar global integrator, but TCS obviously is one of the biggest, I would say, compared to the other ones. So obviously, this is probably going to open up a lot more doors for them. So I'm very excited about this story. What do you guys think?
Well, I think from my perspective, right, is they're, packaging with the Red Zone acquisition, right? You got adaptive ERP, you got the connected workforce, and Champion AI, right? And then I think is this, execution first, as we were talking about, developing beyond the system of record to the system of action, right? Is what a lot of these companies are doing. And, QAD, working with a lot of those mid-market manufacturers, as you mentioned, trying to go a little more upstream as well to get those larger manufacturers that are going under this modernization at the moment. And you need that expertise, which is where the Top Consulting Agency comes in, or services, And, I think this is, we've seen these partnerships pop up as of late. All these enterprise applications vendors are going to the Accentures, the KPMGs, Deloittes of the world to help with these transformations that customers are going under, right? Because they're talking about ERP being this new, system of record, system of action that can, not only examines your current operation, but then provides recommendations or autonomously makes actions happen. So I think as they are positioning these new offerings, they need to help customers deploy it at the end of the day, right? So this is something we're seeing across all vendors at the moment. But QED does have an interesting approach.
Yeah. More comments, guys?
It's ERP. I don't really have any.
But you're doing good with ERP, I guess.
Okay, I'll make one comment. 90-day time to value. If you could actually get there, if you can implement ERP in 90 days and it's valuable at the end, I'm all for it. Let's do it.
I know that's a big initiative that they have as well. And those, but once again, we're seeing that from a lot of enterprise apps vendors, and curious to see how that actually works in reality. So,
yeah, one thing about strategic partnerships, especially with SIs, right? What we're seeing, this is a great strategy instead of trying to go direct. Number one, the customer the customer lifetime value is much higher. The cost of acquisition of a customer is lower. And like companies like TCS, instead of developing their own software, they can easily unplug whenever they need. So they're obviously going to look for companies that have good integration, that meet their standards. Now, both QAD and Red Zone they don't have to spend as much in marketing and sales as they would for a direct customer. So it's probably a win-win if they can follow what Michael said, like real value in 90 days. Mid-market, I think, Sam, you know this better, is probably not as served as the enterprise and ERP. Now, the mid-market also has a lot of people who are so comfortable with whatever they're using, they don't want to change. So these are some things, obstacles that they need to overcome.
Yeah, mid-market is a very tricky market, Shashi, and I'm pretty sure you are familiar about this one. Generally, if you look at any large system integrators, the way their business model worked, even though they would call themselves as system integrator, I mean, I work for them, but they are primarily staffing companies. That's how they work. You literally have to sign a contract for at least 6 months if you want to hire a person with them, right? So that's how they operate and work. So mid-market is very different. I mean, mid-market does not have money to afford a software developer for a year. If they had, they can hire by themselves. So they are looking for split timing. That generally does not work with likes of Deloitte, TCS. It just doesn't work. So again, mid-market is very different. When you are going to have some sort of IP, and that's exactly what they are talking about here. Obviously, that reduces the overall time, but customers are all over the place. So that's where you need human expertise as well. It's not that easy to implement these things in 90 days. It doesn't work. Right?
Ron has a comment too.
Yeah, exactly. And that's what I was going to bring because that's relevant to this one. So I'll cover this one and then you guys can chime in as well. So here, and why is this comment not showing properly? Okay, now I think you guys can see it, or maybe it's just at my end. So he's saying with the new QAD Red Zone TCS partnership, specifically targeting ERP fatigue, how do you all see the combination of Red Zone's execution first platform and TCS's migration factory enable mid-market manufacturers to deploy agentic AI at scale? So I'll respond to this. First, so overall, when I look at Red Zone and the why QAD ended up acquiring that, and that's what I think a lot of other vendors have done it as well. I believe IFS has done a very similar strategy. Other vendors are following that too.
Acadia.
Epicor, did they acquire anything?
Yeah, they acquired Acadia, the connected worker solution.
But is that AI native layer?
No, well, it's more related to the connected worker frontline acquisition I was mentioning earlier. But no, continue, please. Sorry.
So maybe that could be similar. So you might be right here. But my understanding from their AI native capabilities perspective, Charles, they did a big video, and I don't know how much that is implemented right now. Big, flashy announcement that they were going to build all of these capabilities. Generally, building those capabilities would take forever. So a lot of these companies have acquired. IFS did the same thing. QAD did the same thing. So overall, from this question perspective, the layer is going to be on top of the core transactional layer. It is not meant to replace the transactional layer. And QAD, that's the approach that they are following. So here, the advantage that you are going to get from QAD's perspective is, number one, you get foot in the door easily with something like Red Zone and Champion AI they are proposing. So that's a huge win. And then hopefully you can sell ERP as well. So that's what the majority of the enterprise vendor would do it. But I don't know if this is more relevant to deploying agentic AI at scale. I don't know how much value that is going to offer. So that would be my take on this. What do you guys think?
Well, I think at the end of the day, right, that's what the partnership is to do, is to enable these organizations to deploy these tools at scale. But with mid-market manufacturers, it's curious to see if they are willing to do this, right? Are they willing to invest in these tools to change how they're doing things? Maybe the processes they have, aren't defined well. So it's curious to see how Tata is going to come in there and help these organizations. I think as individuals and companies are building out, center of excellence. So that's been a big topic of conversation, where organizations are going in there, building that, internal team that can really take on these, projects. But at the end of the day, they need help from these outside individuals to get the job done.
I mean, part of this move, and the architecture we're talking about, and the idea that you're going to have agentic layers, and that's going to come in across the way we redefine these enterprise apps. Part of that's based on the idea that you can define the workflow, the processes, because you've got to understand that as you start to break that out into what the agents are going to do. So this seems like a smart move if you're trying to move in what is, I believe, the next direction for enterprise applications to do exactly that.
Yeah, great points, guys. And we have some fans here, Shashi, for you. I don't think I have ever received that comment for myself here, or for anybody else. So good job.
Nice, I'm telling you. Is that a plant? Did you pay him?
Okay. So Ron actually likes the insights. We have some comments related to 90-day implementation as a thing, 2-year follow-up support contract.
That's absolutely true.
That's what we are talking about. All right, so I think we can do a couple of more. Okay, so finally, CRM story, guys. CRM, okay? So in this case, this is MailChimp. This is owned by Intuit. And they acquired this for a reason. I think they are doing pretty good with this acquisition. Now they have launched some of the omni-channel campaigns. They are trying to bring some data here from review platform, and generally in Shopify ecosystem, this is all very disconnected. Communicating with that data is always a challenge. So hopefully this is going to help in some shape or form. Here, obviously, they are talking about omni-channel. So hopefully, and again, that's the direction that we have seen with the majority of the marketing automation vendor. So what do you guys think?
Did you all at a previous thing talk about Intuit entering into the ERP space?
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah.
They like to use term called enterprise. I don't know if they have used ERP.
Yeah. Well, and maybe we should define what they think is enterprise too.
The reason I said that is Intuit needs new ideas. Like whatever they had, they've probably covered the whole TAM, and there are so many other alternatives coming up. So I don't know who they recruited recently, but product-wise, they're thinking about new things. So it makes sense to go after Klaviyo, which has so much of inroads into e-commerce, right? And e-commerce is never going to stop somewhere and say this is it. Nobody's going to start selling anything anymore. So that's something that I would call it a bottomless pit. So the right strategy for them, and they have the tools to do that too.
To me, it makes sense from an Intuit perspective too, because how long have they been? How many vendors, and NetSuite's a good example, have had? Here's the migration tool and path from Intuit into my suite, right? So they've had an issue for a long time. They're at the very small end of the market, and the more capability they can add to try to move across and take over some more of those categories, then it makes them more sticky. That makes sense to me. So I from that standpoint, I think it probably is a smart move.
I have to tell you a little bit of a nostalgic story. So when I first joined Network Solutions, I was actually supporting a website building tool. So those days, this is more than 25 years ago, I think. Those days, the innovation for Intuit was, along with your CD, you would get a button that says build a website. 25 years later, right? MailChimp now, connect us with your shopping, your product data, and we'll start letting you do e-commerce. I think it's a great thing.
And Sashi, in that story, I guess the buzzwords that we have would be similar. Even during those days, you would call marketing automation, right? Or no?
We didn't know. It was just email, XML, HTML.
Yeah.
More comments, guys. on this
Yeah,
one.
I think to wrap this up, the Intuit stock over the past 3 to 6 months got crushed pretty significantly. It was trading around $700. Now it's around that 450. Dipped a little bit below near that 350 range for a bit, but I think, Michael, you said it best earlier about the NetSuites. Every organization has some sort of pathway off of Intuit, whether that's QuickBooks or MailChimp, and I think this is a way for them to stay alive and relevant as they move to quote unquote enterprise up. They keep investing in more capabilities. It's a move for them to stay alive and active, because clearly they are great at gathering those organizations that are just starting up. But as they expand and grow, it's the narrative in the market, right? Everybody wants to scale beyond QuickBooks. They want to go to the Acumaticas of the world. They want to go to different ERP solutions or whatever the next CRM jump is for them. And this is ultimately a way for them to stay relevant in the market.
Yeah, and sounds like Charles wants me to move to the next story. I get it, man. I mean, that was CRM story. I know you don't care.
Yeah, it's all good. You got to share love with everyone.
Okay, so a new one. Okay, so I think this is also a CRM story. Sorry, Charles. Okay, so this one is HighSpot. And they are doing, in my mind, I think this is more of the consolidation story. And I see this as more of the sales enablement, if my understanding is right. Michael may have more comments here. But my take on this would be, okay, what's going to happen to something like YesWare? I don't know if they are still alive. I think they were doing some business. I don't know where they are getting funded. But HighSpot, they have done really well, I would say. I've seen them, I don't know, the really large logos. So this is going to get them AI first product roadmap. That's what everybody wants. That's why this acquisition is there. So over to you guys.
I mean, sales enablement is a troubled category and has been for a long time, right? It depends on the definition. Some of it is pretty outdated based on kind of where the market has moved, and some now, if you start to talk about AI first or AI, use in personalization and coaching insights and buyer engagement, all those things, it could become an interesting space. Consolidation, yeah, I mean, the more capabilities they can build around that, the more useful maybe it becomes. It has a lot of baggage, and I think from a how do we do this in a world where buyers have all the information and to buy in a much different way than we're trying to sell, it's a tough category.
Yeah, it is a tough category. More comments, guys. Shashi, I thought you would have a lot to say on this one.
No, I mean, I think this is very hard, right? Like Michael said, there are so many tools that you can have, and I think basically this is more about data and how to move forward without spending a lot of money. Is to combine forces.
Yeah,
and I think at least HighSpot is PE funded, right? So
they must be. I mean, they are one of the hottest, I would say, in that category. Gong, HighSpot, they are very well recognized logos. Yeah.
So this may be filling a
Chorus, Gong,
yeah. This may be filling a gap for them, but these are players that can be displaced by other players encroaching into their market. So they have to move fast, is my opinion.
And I mean, Rob Tarkoff, certainly smart, been around for quite a while in this space, Lithium, Oracle. I mean, and so from a strategic standpoint, I'm sure he's thought that piece out, and that it makes sense to increase their capabilities to broaden that footprint and try to offer more into their customer base. So that part, I'm sure makes sense.
My question to you all is Seismic a better brand than HighSpot? I would have thought the other way around.
And I think I've noticed there's been a lot of a lot of startups in this space as well. I was talking to one of my colleagues yesterday about an organization. I believe it's called ROX, ROX. That's similar to the Gongs of the world as well. So I think this is just a way for them to stay competitive, add more capabilities, increase their reach with their customers, and because there's a lot of competition in the sales enablement space at the moment.
Yeah, and some of those solutions, I mean, to say, oh, I have a tool that records all your conversations. Sure. Yeah, there must be a million of those. Yeah. But how do I actually make that actionable? Well, if I could actually say, while I'm in the conversation, it's giving me coaching tips, that's a different conversation, right? We've got to shift the way we think about that category, and they've got to build different capabilities, because some of those sort of, okay, now we have a record of this, I'm going to go back and listen to it and coach you. That's just not going to play in the world we live in.
Yeah, I think a lot of CX providers do that. Another question is, I don't like the word social selling. And I have not had a briefing with these companies, but if they're thinking of automating social selling, which means all the messages you get on LinkedIn, I think it's a bad move. So intelligence is better than automating.
Maybe I need to ask you a question. Shashi, are you not able to sell socially? Is that the reason why you don't like social selling word? Sorry,
no, I can tell you,
it has to be very personal.
We used social selling in a meeting once with a whole bunch of salespeople, and guess what they said? All selling is social.
And who's saying that?
I'm just saying.
Salespeople, I guess. I mean, that's what I mean. Sometimes salespeople, I don't know, I mean, how much they believe in social selling, and, but yeah, I mean, I would agree with them that, 90% of the selling is very social.
It's social,
yeah. I mean, just to make my point, I don't think, even though ideologically it sounds good, like a salesperson cannot come to a browser, click a green button, and it does the selling for him. For him or her.
It doesn't work.
No, not in a complex sale. Maybe in, if you're selling sodas or chips or something.
I think Michael is so right. All right, I guess, guys, time to wrap. Just 2 minutes, so we'll do a quick wrap up.
Thanks to the audience who were engaged.
Super engaged today. That's the benefit of Friday, I guess.
Benefit of having me,
it was all Shashi. You're right.
Yeah. So Shashi, do you want to go first, because you are the best?
No, I have no final thoughts. I learned as much as the audience did from this conversation. So thank you for collecting it, and thank you for having me on this show.
Yeah, thank you so much for being here, Shashi. Always learning from you. Charles, do you want to go next?
Yeah, likewise. Always great to talk about the great spaces of ERP and CRM and all the great vendors that fall in between that. So yeah, thank you very much for having me. I'll be at Sage next week. If anyone else will be there, please let me know. Come say hi. And looking forward to the continued interaction.
Yeah, thank you so much, Charles. Love collaborating with you. Michael.
Well, first I'd say more AI, less ERP. Okay. But then I'd say, just from thinking about what we talked about today, it is interesting. You're starting to see that conversation more and more and more about how the agents are being put in and what the architecture is going to look like. And we're talking about pricing models and shifts and how this all starts to unbundle and change in the way that we're thinking about this from an enterprise perspective. So if nothing else, enterprise apps and the whole way we do things is going to be a fun conversation for a long time.
Okay, amazing, guys.
Have to go. Have a great day, everyone.
Thank you so much, Charles. And just to wrap, I mean, we meet every Friday, so I'll see you next week, 1 o'clock. Thank you so much.
See you.
All right. Thanks, everyone. Bye.
Yep.